Hey YouTube, I know it's been about, a month since I've uploaded anything, at least as of recording this. It is January 28th, I'm a little bit sick, kind of coming off of a cold I've had for about a week now. Work has been canceled for me pretty much all week, because I live in Texas and we don't do snow. And we have some snow, ice, and sleet on the ground still. I'm bored, and I need to record something, so I figured I'd do something a little different. So today, I'm going to be playing one of my favorite vibe games, which is Car Mechanic Simulator 2021. And while I'm playing that, I'm going to be listening to the SCP audio tapes by The Vulgan. Without further waffling, let's get right into it, and I'm probably not going to be talking at all because my throat still kind of hurts and I'm still kind of stuffy. Let's get to it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-1506, Object Class, Keter. Special Containment Procedures. High-resolution satellite imagery is to be processed by computer for possible SCP-1506-1 occurrences. Once confirmed as an occurrence, SCP-1506-1's position is to be monitored and checked against computer modeling of wind patterns. Should SCP-1506-1 rapidly descend or ascend into a wind current predicted to take SCP-1506-1 through human-populated areas, Mobile Task Force Phi-17, the Arachnophobes, are to be readied for Procedures 1506-A, B, and C. Procedure 1506-A. Using mobile anti-smog fans, Mobile Task Force Phi-17 are to attempt to guide SCP-1506-1 into a wind current predicted to take SCP-1506-1 towards a local nature reserve populated with larger mammalia. If necessary to disguise the procedure from the public, cover will be provided as cutting-edge industrial agriculture testing in rural areas and as air quality specialists in urban areas. Procedure 1506-B. Should 1506-A fail to keep SCP-1506-1 away from human population centers, Mobile Task Force Phi-17 are to begin Type B amnestic treatment as necessary for witnesses of predation. Procedure 1506-C. Mobile Task Force Phi-17 are to use mobile stasis locks to contain the area around SCP-1506-1, while flamethrowers and Arachnicide-7 are used to disperse SCP-1506-1. Arachnicide-7's boiling point is above 1,500 degrees Celsius, making it safe to use with conventional flamethrowers. Under no circumstances may Arachnicide-7 be used without stasis locks active to contain the aftermath. Arachnicide-7 must not be allowed to enter the biosphere. Procedure 1506-D. Following Incident 1506 Sigma, any instance of SCP-1506-1 larger than 200 cubic meters in commercial flight paths are cleared for immediate barometric implosion using FAE detonation contained via mobile stasis lock. SCP-1506-1-14 is contained at Site 9 in a pressure-controlled large animal containment cell. Atmospheric pressure is to be maintained to keep SCP-1506-1-14 approximately in the center of the containment cell. When SCP-1506-1-14 descends to an artificial altitude of less than 500 meters, viable prey animals are to be introduced to the cell. It has been calculated that kilograms of food over a 4-week period will help keep the colony at its current size. In the event of containment breach, Arachnicide-7 will be deployed in combination with increasing containment cell pressure to atmospheres. Arachnicide-7 must not be allowed to enter the biosphere. The following are outdated containment procedures. SCP-1506's position is to be monitored and checked against computer modeling of wind patterns. Should SCP-1506 rapidly descend or ascend into a wind current predicted to take SCP-1506 through human-populated areas, Mobile Task Force Phi-7 are to be readied for Procedures 1506-A and B. Description: SCP-1506 is the designation for the global phenomenon which spontaneously generates instances of SCP-1506-1. SCP-1506-1 is the designation for anomalous colonies of at least approximately 900 spiders of mixed species. By application of multiple varieties of spider silk, SCP-1506-1 is able to build complex web structure less dense than air in which the spiders may live. SCP-1506-1 exhibits remarkable behavior, as individual spiders are rarely seen working in cooperation, and never in cross-species cooperation. SCP-1506-1 also shows changes in predation behavior, web tension strength, and web adhesion. SCP-1506-1 has been found at altitudes of up to 18 kilometers. In order to change altitude, the volume of SCP-1506-1 is increased or decreased, suggesting the web structure is being consistently maintained. When SCP-1506-1 descends below 500 meters, it is to be assumed that the colony will soon begin predation behavior. Thus far, it is unknown how spiders are able to detect their prey at this height. SCP-1506-1's preferred method of predation is to spin a web to the ground from altitude. Any animalia touching the spider web will instantly adhere and be unable to remove the web. Only live animal matter exhibits this effect. When enough food has been caught, SCP-1506-1 will reel in the web at kilometers per hour. When SCP-1506-1 has fully reeled in its prey, the web structure will engulf the animal. Consumption of prey takes place over days, dependent on both the size of the prey and the colony. Humans take approximately 5 days for an average-sized colony to digest. The largest single prey animal recorded has been an elk, taking 11 days to digest. Waste is allowed to fall freely, leaving a desiccated husk that will often shatter on impact. SCP-1506-1 was first identified as SCP-1506 before the realization of multiple instances. SCP-1506-1 was first brought to the Foundation's attention on 2000, when a viral video thought to originate in Chile showed a man walking through the streets of at 0247 local time. According to the timestamps, for 2 minutes he is tracked by 8 security cameras, the footage of which has been seamlessly edited together, until he suddenly stops walking whilst looking very startled. The subject of the video begins brushing at his arms and face before vanishing. High-speed analysis shows that he had been dragged vertically out of the frame. The poor resolution of the security footage has made it impossible to determine the actual speed, but kilometers per hour is within estimations. The footage has been doctored to remove the 3 frames and has been publicly revealed to be part of the viral campaign for energy drink. SCP-1506-114 is a colony captured on 2000. Cameras placed on prey animals have shown internal structure to be incredibly complex. The colony is divided into living chambers and buoyancy chambers, with no genus of spider noticeably more active in web maintenance. Every foreign spider introduced to the colony has been accepted without incident. Introducing new spider species to SCP-1506-114 is now banned. 200 different spiders from around the world have been introduced to the colony, and it is believed that there is no more data to be gained from this research. SCP-1506-114 is being studied to determine longevity of the colony. So far, the colony remains healthy in a simulated high-altitude environment, feeding when necessary. Using remote cameras to explore the structure has proven a failure, as all attempts have had the drone immobilized by web and excreted in the usual manner. Spider-mounted cameras have failed in a similar manner. The only successful method to obtain internal visuals is through prey-mounted camera, which allows only for stationary video feeds. Tests indicate a normal oxygen and atmospheric pressure level within the living chambers. Little headway has been made as to the mode of transmission of SCP-1506, but the most favored theory is communication of learned behavior. Investigation is ongoing into how the spiders communicate. Research on the Malus gregalis and other social spiders has been promising, but so far no headway has been made. So far, SCP-1506-1 has appeared on all continents except Antarctica. and shows no preference for member spider species, either solitary or social. Addendum. Event 1501 Alpha. Playing log now.
I think it's trying to pretend it's a weather balloon, but weather balloons don't float this low. Great! We found the killer low-flying weather balloon. I guess we could pop it.
They're called special containment procedures.
Not special destruction procedures. Yeah, I get it. It would save time, though. I'm going in for a closer look.
Stay sharp.
3 minutes 42 seconds of radio silence as Agent R approaches location.
I've got visual on the binoculars. I can see it pulsing. It looks like it's made out of fabric.
What do you think? Giant butterfly net? Lasso?
I don't think we're bringing this one in ourselves. We're gonna need nerds.
Hey, don't be like that. They're why we have jobs.
Not them. I stepped in a spider web.
Agent R's radio device transmits a 16-second scream, followed by heavy breathing and sobbing.
Oh God, they're crawling on me. I can't move. God, it's so hot. Oh God.
Agent R was in radio contact for a further 18 hours and 7 minutes. During this time, Agent R was unable to provide more useful information on the nature of SCP-1506. Event 1506, Sigma. On 2000, SCP-1506-19 collided with commercial flight. SCP-1506-19 had been under special observation due to its significant volume. It has been theorized that SCP-1506-19 contained over a million individual spiders. On impact with flight, SCP-1506-19 was observed to burst. The web structure was observed to cling to the plane for 40 seconds before being pulled into a damaged seam between fuselage panels. The black box flight recorder indicates these spiders entered the flight cabin, causing significant damage to the aircraft's electronics, including radio equipment. The flight continued for another 78 minutes before crashing. The following is an excerpt from the recording. Playing log now.
What the fuck was that?
Shit, I don't know. Give me the fucking mic. This is your co-pilot for today. We do apologize for the flight turbulence back there. We do our best to make your flight as smooth as possible, but the occasional hiccup will happen. We thank you for your understanding and remember to keep flying with airlines. Okay, what in the fuck happened?
I thought it was a cloud, all right?
Clouds don't make a bang when you hit them. I meant to be on break. Seriously. What is wrong with you?
Don't tell me you thought it was anything other than cloud cover. You were looking.
I was meant to take a nap in half an hour and now my heart's racing. Thanks for that.
Well, piss off then!
Metallic banging can be heard, assumed to be flight attendant at the cockpit door.
I just want a nap. Jesus, what did I do? What is it? Use the phone!
Banging continues.
I'll have a look. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck!
What?
Mayday, mayday! This is flight in immediate distress. Require urgent assistance on spider infestation. Over!
What the fuck? Can they get through the door? This is insane!
This is flight... Our flight cabin has been compromised by spiders and they're fucking everywhere! Someone fucking come in! Over! Pan! Mayday! Anyone!
Recording skips 60 minutes. For full audio file, see 1506.19bb.mp3.
Ailerons okay? Rudder okay? Elevators okay?
Radio fucked. Well, at least we're not dead stick.
30 seconds of silence.
We agreed. This is what we have to do.
I don't want to die.
Neither do I. Neither did...
If we're doing this, it has to be now. We're getting too close to...
I hope it's fast.
We'll be the first to hit. The plane is behind us. It's a rock and a hard place. Sure it'll burn?
I've set all the fuel safety options to off.
I hope so. Sand for miles. Do it.
Recording continues in silence for 4 minutes until impact. Flight was over an uninhabited area for the crash, preventing further casualties. It is believed that the resulting explosion and dispersal of the spiders that made up SCP-1506-19 is responsible for the increased generation rate of SCP-1506-1. Okay, now that we've got that absolute nightmare out of the way, this thankfully concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and I'm sorry. Goodbye. I would like to give a special thank you to Alatreon, Zargaran, Professor Puffer, Ritalius, J.K., Signar, Your Local Foundation Agent, Derivative, Gabriel Hawkins, Nate the Clown, Lost Boy, A Real American Hebrew, Sio Diodemnatus, Eric Corbage, Longinus, Karim El Ashmoui, James Saba, and NJ Bojack. If you would like a special thank you at the end of each of my videos, and some other cool stuff as well, visit patreon.com/TheVulgan. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-1128. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Written descriptions or imagery of SCP-1128's appearance or videos of the entity breaching, see Addendum 1128-3, found outside the Foundation are to be destroyed, and Class C amnestics are to be administered to anyone exposed to such information or showing signs of SCP-1128 contamination. A written description of the entity's appearance is to be kept at site for experimental purposes only, and is not to be read by anyone other than D-Class used for testing. If exposed, staff are to report immediately for administration of Class C amnestics. Mobile Containment Force Kappa 12 has been assigned to intercept and redirect any and all water traffic that passes through their designated patrol area by any means necessary. See Addendum 1128-2. Description: SCP-1128 is an entity that manifests as a massive aquatic predator to anyone given a full description of the being's appearance through either spoken or written descriptions or visual depictions of the being. Persons infected by SCP-1128 will initially exhibit no abnormal behavior, though some cases show general aversion to activities involving bodily immersion in water, such as bathing or swimming. Should the subject ever be fully immersed in water, they will disappear completely under the surface of the water, regardless of the water's actual depth. In most cases, subjects will reappear moments later in a panicked state and frantically try to leave the water, while in some other cases water will become polluted with blood and debris, confirmed to be the remains of the subject. Subjects that have reappeared intact claim that they were transported to a vast ocean where they are pursued by SCP-1128. Interviews with these individuals carries some risk of further SCP-1128 contamination, as descriptions of the being's appearance trigger further infections. SCP-1128 infection can be treated with Class C amnestics, as it appears memory of the entity or descriptions of it are required for its anomalous properties to take effect. Addendum 1128-1. Testing with infected D-Class have shown that wireless communication devices function normally when used by submerged subjects, affected by SCP-1128. See Interview 1128-04 for details. This is Interview 1128-04. Interview 1128-04. Interviewed D1645. Interviewer Dr. Stevens. Forward. D1645 was instructed to read from a small pamphlet describing SCP-1128's appearance, then was outfitted with diving gear and lowered into a large tub of water via a winch and cable. D1645's gear was outfitted with a wireless communication device to allow contact between himself and Dr. Stevens, and to test if the SCP had any effect on such devices. Interview has been edited to remove hazardous information pertaining to SCP-1128. Begin log.
D1645, can you hear me? Over.
I hear you, Doc. Damn, this thing is deep. It looks so tiny from outside.
How well is your reception? Over.
It's good enough, I guess. It's kind of fuzzy, but not enough that I can't hear what you're saying.
What is your current status?
Right now, I'm just sinking to the bottom of... Is this the ocean? How the hell did you manage to fit an entire ocean inside a stinking bathtub?
Irrelevant, D1645. What are your surroundings?
I just said ocean, damn it. There's fish and everything. Don't you guys know what the hell's inside your own...
D1645, what happened?
I'm fine. I just hit the bottom. Looks like I've landed on a patch of seaweed or something.
What are your surroundings?
Seaweed, mostly. Wait a second. It gets thinner to my right. Looks like there might be a drop-off that way. Should I go take a look?
You may proceed.
Damn suit's heavy. It's hard to move in this thing. Hey, is this thing soundproof? I hope my talking isn't scaring off any... Oh my god!
D1645? D1645, respond! What is your status?
I'm okay. I don't think it saw me. Damn, I think I pissed myself.
What happened? What did you see?
Scariest damn thing I ever seen. Some kind of big-ass... Wait a second. That's the thing from that booklet you gave me, isn't it?
Affirmative. Please refrain from describing it any further. What is it doing?
Nothing right now. It's just swimming along. I think it's got something in its mouth. Is it a whale? Holy crap, it is. It's eating a whale. Oh god, look at those teeth.
I think we're done here. Pull him out now. Thank you for your cooperation. We're bringing you up now.
And now we swallowed it. Damn, that thing is gonna haunt my dreams. Wait, it stopped moving. I think it sees me. Oh god, it's looking right at me. It's headed this way. Oh god, help me!
Get him out of there, now!
End log. Closing statement. Winch was retracting at full speed when the cable went taut, wresting the winch from its mounting. Cable then went slack and water became polluted with blood, confirmed to be that of D1645. No further remains or equipment were recovered. Interview logs and relevant documents were edited for vectors, and all staff present were treated with Class C amnestics. Addendum 1128-2. Tracking devices affixed to D-Class used in SCP-1128 experiments reveal that submerged subjects are transported to an area within the Pacific Ocean, not far from the coast of... Further investigation of these coordinates revealed the area to be... Mobile Containment Force Kappa 12, Sea Devils, has been assigned to keep unauthorized seafaring vessels out of this area at all costs. Note, that's where we've been sending those D-Class? How does a short-range wireless communicator get such a clear signal from that far away? Dr. Stevens. Addendum 1128-3. Tests involving D-1732, who had been used for repeated SCP-1128 testing without administration of amnestics, was shown to be able to encounter the entity in bodies of water normally insufficient for bodily immersion. This effect became more drastic over time with D-1732 developing progressively stronger hydrophobic tendencies, claiming to see SCP-1128 from outside almost any body of water encountered by the subject. On an undisclosed date, 10 days after initial exposure, D-1732 was violently pulled into a glass of water by. No remains were recovered from the incident. Staff witnessing the event were found to be infected by SCP-1128 and administered Class C amnestics. Containment procedures were then updated to include videos and descriptions of this event, and testing involving extended infection of D-Class was terminated. Experiment Log 1128. Experiment Log 1128, A1. Date unknown. Procedure: D-Class exposed to SCP-1128, outfitted with diving gear and communication device, then lowered into tub of water. Result: see Interview 1128-04. Experiment Log 1128, A2. Date unknown. Procedure: D-Class exposed to SCP-1128 and equipped with scuba gear, placed into a standard protective shark cage, and lowered into water. Result: no response for approximately 9 seconds. Then line went taut and was severed at the point beneath the water. Remains of D-Class as well as jagged steel fragments, presumably remnants of the cage, surfaced shortly afterward. Experiment Log 1128, A3. Date unknown. Procedure: same as previous. Cage treated with SCP to increase durability. Result: same as previous, no remains surfaced. Notes: 12 hours later, MCF Sea Devils reported finding an intact shark cage floating beneath the surface of a patrol area near one of their vessels. Item was retrieved and confirmed to match description of cage used in Experiment 1128-A3. Cage was undamaged but bore traces of human DNA and feces of indeterminate origin. No further remains of D-Class found. Experiment Log 1128-A4. Date unknown. Procedure: exposed D-Class equipped with diving gear and armed with for use against hostile organisms. Unlike previous tests, the subject was also equipped with a live feed video camera attached to his helmet. Result: video feed shows weapon was ineffective against SCP-1128, appearing only to enrage the creature rather than harm it considerably or drive it away. Feed was lost when D-Class was devoured. Staff involved were treated with amnestics following transcription of the video feed. Experiment Log 1128-A5. Date unknown. Procedure: exposed D-Class equipped with protective environment suit and video feed lowered into vat of to test SCP-1128 manifestation in liquids other than water. Substance chosen for its low density, allowing free movement, similar to walking in open air. Result: D-Class recovered without incident. Liquid did not trigger SCP-1128's effect. Note: okay, so you might be safe from the thing in liquids other than water, but that probably won't help you much unless you intend to drink and bathe in exotic chemicals for the rest of your life, which would probably get a lot shorter if you tried that. Dr. Palmer. Okay, this concludes today's lecture. Don't forget your Class C amnestics on the way out, and you are all dismissed. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-6819. Object Class: Keter-uncontained. Special Containment Procedures. Research into the causes and effects of SCP-6819 and possible preventative measures are ongoing. Currently, Foundation Protocol discourages travel from the hours of 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. unless absolutely necessary, in which case a party of 4 or more is strongly encouraged. If an SCP-6819 event is triggered, the driver should maintain a fast but safe speed and not attempt a U-turn or to otherwise change direction. After the building is sighted, confirming presence in SCP-6819-1, Drivers should switch lanes or otherwise maneuver around any obstructions in the road. In the event of humanoid presence in the road, personnel are authorized to accelerate to a ramming speed. Under absolutely no circumstances are personnel to ever stop, exit the vehicle, or approach the building. Description: SCP-6819 is a phenomenon occurring on highways in the United States numbered highway system in the contiguous United States. SCP-6819 involves the sudden translocation of a vehicle driving on a U.S. highway to SCP-6819-1, an extra-dimensional region of unclear bounds, and its subsequent return. SCP-6819-1 resembles a U.S. highway with all identifying signage removed and no natural illumination. The surrounding area is difficult to see and variable, but the area to the right will always be a gently sloping rocky hill. At the top of the hill, an unclear distance away, a large building is present. The exact physical characteristics of this building change, but all subjects report it as imposing or intimidating, with high walls illuminated by floodlights. Descriptions range from a prison to a castle to a military base and similar facilities. The requirements for triggering SCP-6819 are unclear, but a few prerequisites have been ascertained. The driver of the vehicle must be currently or formerly employed by the Foundation. The vehicle must be moving independently, not towed or transported on a truck bed. The time must be between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. local time zone. The moon must be in a waning period. There must be no more than 3 passengers inside the vehicle, including the driver. SCP-6819-1 always contains an event forcing or incentivizing the driver to slow down or stop and exit the vehicle. The specifics of the event are never consistent. Instance 56. Circumstances: 2009 Chevrolet Tahoe. Foundation issue. Driver was Agent Mila Barrow. No passengers. US 46 in Missouri. Observations: SCP-6819 triggered at 12:17 a.m. local time. Agent Barrow reports she noticed the sudden absence of other vehicles, but did not consider it a point of concern and continued driving. A few minutes later, she realized her dashboard clock had stopped displaying and her phone was no longer in service, and grew concerned at the continued lack of human presence. At this point, the building, it must have been miles away on that hill, I could barely make it out through the tree line, became visible. Agent Barrow continued driving, but prepared her service weapon. I'm not sure why. I was locked in a car with bulletproof windows and there wasn't anything overtly dangerous around. Several minutes later, the right lane was obstructed by the corpse of a large elk or moose, being feasted upon by a significantly larger animal, possibly a bear. The bear's fur was extremely dark, to the point of absorbing light around it, and had morphological alterations. Its arms were distinctly thin and long compared to the rest of it, like human arms. The prey was still alive despite the surrounding asphalt being coated with its blood, and continued to thrash and emit guttural screams as Barrow changed lanes and accelerated past it. In her rearview mirror, she reported the predator sitting on its hind legs and staring at her vehicle with glassy white eyes. Barrows exited back into local reality at 12:38 a.m. and immediately reported the incident. Instance 165. Circumstances: 2004 Toyota Sienna. Driver was Dr. Adam Makowitz, with his wife Dana Makowitz in the passenger seat. US 82 in New Mexico. Observations: SCP-6819 triggered at 11:34 p.m. local time. Dr. Makowitz immediately registered the sudden change in surrounding landscape despite the darkness and attempted to check their location on his phone GPS, which did not work. The building became visible at the top of the rocky hill. It reminded me of Site 16 a little bit. These huge concrete walls built into the cliffside, and the big spotlights along the walls. Not wanting to wake his wife, Makowitz continued driving for several minutes. The building stayed at a static position. With the angle and my speed, I should have been getting closer, but it wasn't, like it was moving parallel, though obviously it wasn't, with its spotlights panning over the hillside. Makowitz suddenly became aware of a movement to the left of the vehicle. Per testimony, It was a dark blot out in the desert, angled in such a way that I could see it for several seconds as we sped by. From everything around it, it was obviously a three-dimensional object, but since it reflected no light, you couldn't really tell. A couple miles later, I saw it again, but it was further out, so I could see it longer. It was moving at a constant speed, not the intermittent gait of something on legs, but the smooth pace of a wheeled object. It was moving parallel to the interstate at a much lower speed, and we shot by pretty quickly. I thought I was hallucinating. Makowitz then reports that the object reappeared ahead of them, moving perpendicular to the interstate. It crossed into their path and Makowitz rapidly braked to avoid colliding with it, waking his wife. The object was no longer present and his wife suggested she drive. I was tired and a little terrified, but something in me was screaming not to get out of the fucking car. They continued, and the building disappeared from view at 12:09 a.m. local time, signaling their exit from SCP-6819-1. Instance 306. Circumstances: 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Driver was Site Director Paul Legoux. No passengers. US 120 in Pennsylvania. Observations: SCP-6819 triggered at 2:03 a.m. local time. Director Legoux immediately noticed the sudden disappearance of other vehicle lights. It was a pretty empty road, but I could still see taillights of people way ahead of me, and the headlights of oncoming traffic. One by one, they just winked out, like candles getting snuffed out, and attempted to call a colleague on his phone, but could not get signal. Legoux was suddenly temporarily blinded by a bright light. A spotlight followed his vehicle for a few seconds before drifting away. Legoux regained control of the vehicle and looked up at the building on his right. Between the barbed wire, the guard towers, and the spotlights, it looked like a fortress. Believing he had taken the wrong exit, he made a U-turn and began accelerating in the opposite direction until the building disappeared from sight. After only 2 to 3 minutes, the building appeared again ahead of Legoux, once again on his right. However, the taillights of other vehicles were visible ahead of him, as well as the honking of horns. He registered the lights were not moving. The cars were all stopped in the right lane, causing him to switch lanes to drive past them. As he drove past, he slowed to take a note of the traffic jam. All the cars were jet black and looked brand new. All of them had their hazards on, and were honking at each other. I was wondering why the hell none of them just switched to the other lane until I drove past. All of them were empty. Must have been 30 or 40 cars, backed up and honking at each other with their windows down, and not a single person inside any of them. Legoux accelerated to 130 miles per hour and exited SCP-6819-1 at 2:25 a.m. local time. Instance 398. Circumstances: 1999 Honda CR-V. Driver was Agent Alice Sterling. Only passenger her pet golden retriever, US 95 in Nevada. Observations: SCP-6819 triggered at 1:15 a.m. local time. Agent Sterling does not immediately notice, but reports her dog immediately began to behave strangely and restlessly. The building does not become visible for several minutes, but Agent Sterling notes she began to hear a soft but high-pitched buzzing. I figured that what was making Kane nervous. It sounded like a snake rattle almost. From outside the vehicle, her dog began to whine from the back seat. Sterling noticed a discoloration on the road ahead and slowed her vehicle down as she approached. She noted a number of black cars stopped in a row in the left lane, similar to Instance 306. However, all the asphalt, guardrails, cars, and nearby rocks were coated in a greenish shifting substance. As Sterling shifted to the right lane and slowly drove by, she was able to inspect them closer. Cicadas. Hundreds and thousands of them at the very least. They were everywhere, buzzing and screaming and making the air shimmer. I don't think cicadas ever come out this far west. Not in these numbers. My car left a smashed trail of them and they didn't even seem to care. The brood of cicadas continued for almost a mile and a half, during which the building became visible, much closer than in previous instances. It seemed safe, strong. I didn't see any cicadas on those walls, despite the lights. She also noticed an unpaved road diverging from the highway that led up the hill to the building, and moved to take it. At this point, her dog began to loudly and insistently bark, and she missed her turn. Sterling continued and exited SCP-6819-1 at 1:38 a.m. local time. Instance 434. Circumstances: 2017 Ford F-150. Driver was researcher Samuel Seabar. No passengers, but Seabar was transporting a whole hog in the bed of the truck. US 123 in Kentucky. Observations: SCP-6819 triggered at 12:56 a.m. Seabar immediately noticed and unsuccessfully attempted to establish a radio connection with command, then rapidly accelerated in an attempt to exit SCP-6819 as fast as possible. I figured that since turning around doesn't work, the fastest way out is directly through. The building became visible within 1 to 2 minutes due to the speed Seabar was traveling at. Uncharacteristically, its spotlights were all fixed on a singular point down the road. Instead of wandering across the area as usual, as Seabar approached the point, he noticed an obstruction in the road and was forced to slow down. The twisted, flaming wreckage of a black SUV was strewn across the road. It was gruesome. I think it had crashed into the guardrail, but the car was totaled. They'd been thrown through the windshield. Jesus fucking Christ. Illuminated by the spotlights, a number of small fires were present throughout the crash scene, as well as a number of partially burned bodies lying face down on the ground. Seabar took the truck partially off-road to avoid the crash. One bloodied figure was lying several dozen meters away from the spotlights and wreckage, at the end of a long trail of blood and viscera. As Seabar returned to the road, he did not register this figure's presence in the darkness and crushed them under the wheels of the truck. The sudden jolt panicked Seabar. I thought someone had jumped on the fucking truck. I thought I was gonna die. And he accelerated to 110 miles per hour until he exited SCP-6819-1 at 1:09 a.m. local time. After establishing a radio connection and reporting the incident to command, Seabar stopped at a gas station and noticed the raw hog in the bed of the truck now had large chunks torn out of its flesh. Interview. Interviewer, Dr. Seth Sainer. Subject, Agent Barry Novak. Playing log, now.
Hey Barry, sorry about the wait. It's fine. Not exactly a lot going on here. Just for the record, can you recount what happened one more time? Again. You don't have to go into too much detail. We just want it on tape. Alright. I was driving down 160 near Cortez. It was like 2 in the morning. There were some other cars around, but it was mostly dead. When did you notice something had changed? I have a little compass on my dash. It started freaking out. Then I noticed I couldn't see anything. It's a dark highway, but there weren't any taillights, headlights. I couldn't even see the moon. Utter pitch blackness beyond my high beams. And I wasn't even... I'm not afraid of the dark. Never said you were. I was. As a kid. Always slept with a nightlight in the corner of my room. Made me feel safe. Anyway. That's when I saw the building. Can you describe it to me? It was perched on the cliffside. It was... imposing. These huge flying concrete walls and the big guard towers. It was bright too. The only source of light in the area were those huge spotlights and floodlights. And you kept driving? Sure. At this point I knew where I was and what to do, so I continued driving. Okay. The spotlights followed me. Followed my car. I mean, do they always do that? It's not exactly common, but we've seen it happen. It scared me, so I sped up. I was waiting to see what was going to be in the road, in the dark. You saw figures? Yeah. maybe 4 or 5 people. It's hard to remember. Standing in the middle of the road facing me. Could you describe them? They were white, naked, masks, black masks covering their entire heads. They were holding things, either guns or bats. It's hard to say. Doing anything? Just standing there. As you know, the absence of living people in SCP-6819-1 is usually an important signifier. Are you sure they were people? They looked like people. I don't know if they were actually alive or actually human, but they looked it. What did you do? I wasn't prepared for a fight. It's a shitty little Prius. I can run someone over, but if I smashed in the window, I was done for. I saw the road. The road? The dirt path going off up the hill to the building. And you followed this path? Yeah. I figured it was a better option than playing chicken with some gunmen. Can you describe to me the uphill drive? The road was bumpy, but it was drivable. I switched into second gear and started going up. Then the headlights chopped through the bush. Then the spotlights fell on me. All of them, shining down on the roof of the car, blinding me. You stopped the car. Yeah. Then they wandered off me, formed a line leading to one of the walls of the fortress, shining on a big door. What kind of door? It looked like the blast door, almost. The whole affair looked like, I don't know, a bunker. How did you feel? Weird. A blend of scared and safe. Safe? The light was comforting, and the walls looked very safe. I started driving up to it. And you saw the door opening? Yeah. Just as the door started to open, everything went dark again. You passed out behind the wheel. The airbags were deployed when we found you in a ditch by the highway like this. They're probably gonna pull the plug sometime tomorrow. Your family will be taken care of. I'm sorry, Barry. It's not your fault. Should have plowed through those masked fucks. Killing people isn't a natural instinct. That's the thing, isn't it? You're driving through the dark. You see a bright light. You assume safety. A nightlight. Yeah. It shows you're not alone. Shining through the dark and calling you closer. Like an anglerfish.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-1237. Object Class: Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Due to its pandemic and incorporeal nature, SCP-1237 cannot be contained in a traditional sense. Containment of SCP-1237 at this time shall be focused on information management and on identification and containment of SCP-1237-1 positive individuals. Any non-Foundation scientific research which could lead to discovery of SCP-1237 is to be suppressed by any means necessary. Conscription of researchers involved in such studies, as Foundation personnel or as D-Class, is authorized. The Foundation is to sponsor efforts wherever and whenever possible to promote widespread DNA testing of civilians for the purpose of identifying SCP-1237-1 positives, including but not limited to mandatory testing of and other convicted offenders, DNA testing as prerequisites for employment or insurance eligibility, DNA fingerprinting as a means of identification, universal prenatal screenings, and home DNA testing kits, ostensibly for the purpose of determining a person's ancestry. All Foundation personnel and any civilian who is allowed to know of the Foundation's existence must be tested immediately. Information is to be disseminated in the medical community to the effect that an SCP-1237-1 positive result in a prenatal screening is evidence of a deformative condition with low viability and extreme health risk to the mother, and doctors are advised to recommend that such pregnancies be terminated. If a known SCP-1237-1 positive pregnancy is not voluntarily, induction of involuntary is authorized. The Foundation is to sponsor any and all organizations or charities providing prenatal screening and services, whether legal or not, in developing countries where these services do not exist. If these efforts are unsuccessful, sponsorship of organizations participating in campaigns of involuntary sterilization, ethnic cleansing, or genocide is authorized against populations with statistically high rates of SCP-1237-1. Any person presenting at hospital or police or otherwise identified as having experienced an SCP-1237 event is to be detained for study and testing. If the individual is SCP-1237-1 negative, they are to be debriefed, administered Class B amnestic, and released. Any person found to be SCP-1237-1 positive or to have caused an SCP-1237 incident is to be detained immediately for study and debriefing. After debriefing, they are to be administered Class Omega amnestic and detained indefinitely. Positives are to be regularly dosed with Class C amnestics to prevent any development of new memories regarding the existence of the Foundation or any staff handling them, benzodiazepines to minimize slow-wave sleep, and to prevent REM sleep, and during sleep shall be monitored at all times by EEG. In the event that any positive enters an SCP-1237 state during observation, they are to be terminated immediately. If any SCP-1237-1L is identified by the Foundation, authorization is granted to employ them once and only once to attempt to neutralize a Keter-class SCP object at the discretion of O5. After said attempt, whether successful or not, subject is to be terminated immediately. If any high-profile person or public place is affected by an SCP-1237 event, the Foundation is authorized to take whatever steps necessary to prevent public knowledge of this change, up to and including termination or complete destruction of the person or place so affected. Description: SCP-1237 is a state of electrical activity in the human brain, a brainwave in common terminology, observed in certain individuals during periods of extremely deep sleep. This state, informally dubbed Level 5 sleep or Epsilon wave sleep, is profoundly difficult to awaken the subject from. Prior to adoption of current containment protocols, experiments with loud noise, bright lights, chemical injections, electrical stimulation, oxygen deprivation, physical injury and mutilation, and all failed to arouse the subject. The ability to exhibit SCP-1237 is controlled by a gene designated SCP-1237-1. SCP-1237-1 is present in approximately 0.% of the total world population. However, this number is as high as 1% among and ethnic groups. Percent of SCP-1237-1 positives experience at least one SCP-1237 event in their lives. Percent experience 2 or more. The majority of SCP-1237 events occur when the subject is in their late teens to early 30s. Whereas SCP-1237-1 negative individuals do not exhibit REM activity during the deepest stages of sleep, SCP-1237-1 positives do. Dreams experienced during an SCP-1237 event are not of a significantly different nature than dreams experienced by negatives. They may involve the dreamer participating in routine daily activities, find them in impossible or illogical situations where people they may or may not know behave uncharacteristically, or find them in scenarios most people would find terrifying. As with ordinary dreams, the subject has no apparent control over the setting or events of the dream or their actions therein. When dreaming during an SCP-1237 state, however, the brainwaves responsible for REM activity and SCP-1237 activity interact to produce a reality-altering effect. After an SCP-1237 event occurs, any physical or mental changes that occur to the subject in the dream will occur to their waking form as well. If the dream involves persons or places that the subject has personally interacted with or visited, those persons and places will be altered as well, in accordance with the nature of the dream. Imaginary persons or places not personally known by the subject are not affected. Transformation is instantaneous in all cases that have been observed. In general, memories of people not involved in the dream are unaffected. People encountering persons affected by an SCP-1237 event will believe that the changes are correct and that the person has always been that way. However, they will have memories that this is not the case. Attempts to reconcile this among witnesses to an SCP-1237 event tend to result in chronic uneasiness, paranoia, and documented effects of SCP-1237 events have included loss of limbs and organs, or spontaneous regeneration of limbs and organs previously lost, complete and total changes in physical appearance, gender, personality, memories, age, or species, acquisition of superhuman abilities, including the ability to fly, lift extremely heavy objects, survive without oxygen, or see through solid objects. Significant changes in the architecture and floor plan of buildings, of the layout of city streets, or of the appearance, characteristics, or names of landmarks. Changes in the outcome of historical events the subject was involved in. Individuals returning to life several years after dying. The spontaneous transformation of national governments from one form to another. For example, from a republic to a constitutional monarchy, or from a democratic confederation to an autocratic dictatorship. A very small percentage of SCP-1237-1 positives, believed to be in single digits worldwide, designated SCP-1237-1L, are capable of lucid dreaming, the ability to control the nature of their dreams, including those occurring in SCP-1237 events. To date, only one SCP-1237-1L has been identified by the Foundation. See Experiment Log T98816-OC108682 for details pertaining to its disposition. Addendum. Note from senior researchers: it is of the utmost importance that all agents assigned to SCP-1237 containment understand exactly how dangerous this phenomenon can potentially become. We have no idea how much of our world has been changed by these dreamers in the past. A single positive, having a single dream, has the potential to change the world for the worse. What if a mortician watches a scary movie, then falls asleep and dreams their town is part of a zombie apocalypse? What if a globetrotter dreams about the end of the world? What if someone aware of our existence dreams of a world where there's no such thing as the Foundation? We're talking CK, maybe even XK level events here. As it stands right now, we don't even know how many of these people are out there that we haven't found. For this reason, I want to stress that any means necessary to implement universal DNA testing and to remove these people from the gene pool is authorized, and that there is absolutely no margin of error for mercy. When you became part of this organization, you understood that we sometimes have to do horrible things in the name of the greater good, things that make it hard to sleep at night. I must ask you to do those horrible things, and continue doing those horrible things for as long as it takes to neutralize this threat. Because it only takes one positive who can sleep at night to create a world where the rest of us will never wake up again. This concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-505. Object Class: Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-505 is contained in a 50 by 40 by 10 meter room at Site. SCP-505's containment area is to be sealed other than one secure airlock and a series of pipes allowing transport of SCP-5051 to storage tanks in the event of SCP-5051 reaching levels in which it poses danger to containment. Sprayers for sodium hydroxide are to be available through SCP-505's containment area and the rest of Site to combat a containment breach. In the event of a spill of SCP-5051, the affected area should immediately be covered with an absorbent material. Commercial blotting paper is currently standard for this purpose, and doused with alcohol or acetone if sodium hydroxide is not immediately available. Sodium hydroxide immersion is the method of choice for SCP-5051 containment, followed by incineration of affected material if practicable. There are currently instances of SCP-5051 points of secondary contamination outside SCP-505's primary containment area. Containment in these areas is variable, but efforts have been made to make the procedures as similar to those of the primary site if possible. Of these secondary contamination zones are unable to be fully contained at this time, resulting in the spread of SCP-5051 throughout the environment. These sites are to be monitored at all times, and countermeasure deployment is of the highest priority. For a complete list of SCP-5051 secondary containment sites, see Document 505-14A. Description: SCP-505 is a model Faber-Castell fountain pen, produced in 2001. For documentation of its acquisition by the Foundation, see Addendum 5052. It is identical in all respects to a standard fountain pen, apart from its association with SCP-5051. SCP-5051 is the black ink produced by SCP-505, which exhibits the property of self-replication. SCP-5051 spreads at a variable rate, affected by the substance it comes into contact with and the amount of SCP-5051 present. Quantities of SCP-5051 have been shown to increase at rates between 0.5 and 540 milliliters per second. Standard ink-removing chemicals are able to partially remove SCP-5051 and inhibit its spread. However, sodium hydroxide is necessary to remove SCP-5051 contamination completely, and has shown to be ineffective in environments with particularly high SCP-5051 concentrations. Fortunately, the growth rate of SCP-5051 appears to be inversely proportional to its quantity at high concentrations. Whilst the observed effects of this are negligible in most cases, this inverse growth phenomenon provides the only explanation for the partial containment of SCP-5051 despite a number of cases of large-scale environmental contamination, which were projected to otherwise lead to an NK-class end-of-the-world scenario. Whilst SCP-5051 exhibits no unusual properties other than its constant spread and partial resistance to removal, it nonetheless poses serious difficulties for control. SCP-5051 will flow across non-absorbent surfaces and pass through porous surfaces in an identical fashion to normal ink. All liquid or solid objects or beings in contact with SCP-5051 will be contaminated. SCP-5051 will still adhere to non-porous surfaces, such as metals, but newly produced SCP-5051 will constantly flow off. Non-porous materials are thus catalysts for SCP-5051 spread, and all SCP-5051 contamination should be covered in porous materials such as blotting paper for this reason. It is not possible to permanently contain SCP-5051 in a non-porous container, as said container's contents will gradually increase in quantity, leading to increased pressure and subsequent rupture. All containers being used to contain SCP-5051 must therefore be drained periodically to prevent a containment breach. SCP-5051's effects on its environment are identical to those of an equivalent quantity of standard fountain pen ink. SCP-5051 exposure will inevitably lead to the death of living organisms. plant matter will be killed due to inhibition of photosynthesis, whereas animals will be killed due to chemical poisoning. In humans and other mammals, SCP-5051 contact will most likely be via the skin, where it will spread until it reaches an orifice or a break in the skin and subsequently enter the vascular system through mucous membranes. SCP-5051 will spread through the vasculature and have catastrophic effects on all organ systems it reaches, as it continuously replicates and is unable to be excreted by the urinary system. Cause of death is generally multiple organ failure, although in most cases, affected individuals will be terminated and decontaminated prior to this. For containment procedures in these instances, see Addendum 505-1. SCP-5051 also has an increased rate of spread through non-viscous fluids, such as water, as would be expected of normal ink. Any contamination of the water table with SCP-5051 must be prevented at all costs due to the potential for an NK-class end-of-the-world scenario. It is unknown whether SCP-5051's aforementioned property of an inversely proportional rate of spread will manifest in fluids, as experimentation with such high quantities of SCP-5051 is strictly forbidden. Thus, any environmental SCP-5051 contamination in water sources must be met with immediate damming and drainage into storage tanks of all affected areas. Addendum 505-1. Procedures for dealing with SCP-5051 contamination in humans. Administration of multiple-dose activated charcoal has been shown to slow the progress of SCP-5051 contamination in humans, but is unable to halt the process. The only known methods of treatment for SCP-5051 contamination in humans are by the immediate excision of the affected area or continuous application of ethanol to an affected skin region. Topical ethanol treatment will not prevent the affected individual from transmitting SCP-5051 to other surfaces and is thus highly discouraged, except in the cases of essential personnel, in which case containment procedures must be observed as in all other sites of secondary SCP-5051 contamination. In theory, excision or amputation of affected areas would be the gold standard for treatment, but contamination of surgical instruments and personnel remains a problem. Therefore, all cases of SCP-5051 contamination in humans, other than essential personnel, should be dealt with by termination, followed by standard procedure of sodium hydroxide immersion and incineration of the remains. Addendum 505-2. SCP-505 Retrieval History. SCP-505 was acquired by the Foundation from the town in Oman, when the town in question was quarantined by the Omani government due to reports of a black fluid beginning to seep out from the town's post office and causing the deaths of a number of its inhabitants. Fortuitously, the arid and remote location of the incident prevented wide-scale environmental contamination of SCP-5051. The Foundation retrieved SCP-5051 with casualties. No other anomalous properties of the town's post office or the town itself were detected, and it was deemed necessary to terminate civilian inhabitants of who were deemed likely to be contaminated. The incident was reported as a non-extranormal chemical spill. Okay, I know before you say anything, this article is very outdated. This is clearly not a Keter-class anomaly, but I need to present it as what the article says. We can all have a little discussion now as to what it should be classified as. Anyway, this concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye for now. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-3208. Object Class: Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Public knowledge of SCP-3208 is to be controlled by Foundation personnel. Members of Mobile Task Force Mu-7, the Whirlwinds, are to search all available media for signs of SCP-3208 infected individuals in order to enact isolation and quarantine. Individuals suffering from SCP-3208 infection are to be isolated from uninfected individuals and removed to the Foundation hazardous quarantine facility nearest to the location they are apprehended. Analysis of SCP-3208 related growths are to be undertaken under supervision from a hazardous materials expert. Interaction with 3208 infected individuals after quarantine, even for the purposes of analysis and research, requires approval from the 3208 project head at Site-81. Dreams and hallucinations involving SCP-3208-1 are to be documented as long as the SCP-3208 infected individual is capable of communication with Foundation medical staff. Description: SCP-3208 is an infectious disease which initially presents as a minor headache caused by a hard, seed-shaped neoplasm that forms in the thalamus, followed by neurological degeneration. Symptoms which accompany early SCP-3208 infection may include impaired cognitive function, seizures, muscle weakness, and upper extremity dysmetria. SCP-3208 neoplasms exhibit a dendritic growth habit, expanding throughout the cerebrum over approximately 3 weeks, increasing the severity of the above symptoms until the onset of full-body paralysis. Notably, none of these effects appear to be fatal to the subject. Following this, the infection will cease growth in the cranium and begin to spread through the nervous system to the remainder of the body, exiting through any orifice to which the growths are adjacent, with the eyes, nostrils, ears, and mouth producing external growths first. The material produced by this process is organic, gray in appearance, and a transmission vector for SCP-3208. This material will continue to increase in size outside of the body until it anchors the infected individual to a nearby surface. While neurological symptoms vary, all SCP-3208 sufferers will experience vivid dreams and hallucinations that include the presence of an entity described similarly by all sufferers. This entity is designated SCP-3208-1. As symptoms progress, SCP-3208-1's frequency of presence will increase as well. Appearances of SCP-3208-1 lead to irritability, feelings of paranoia and unease during waking hours, which is independent of the progression of SCP-3208-related cranial growth. Long-term sufferers of SCP-3208, including those who are near the point where speech becomes impossible, describe experiencing trepidation during both waking and sleeping hours. Addendum 3208-1 Discovery Dreamlog 3208-1. This is a dream recorded from one of the earliest known infected individuals, Mr. Jeffrey Kent. Mr. Kent is currently housed at Hazardous Quarantine Facility 904.
There's this missing girl in town, and I'm trying to find her in my office. I don't know her at all, but I know that she looks just like my daughter. I try to find her at work, but she's not there. My beeper goes off and the whole office stares at me. I call the number, and the guy on the other end tells me she's down at the docks. I go down there and find this tall guy with a wide-brimmed hat. She's behind him, so I try to go over, but I can't get any closer. It's like I'm on a treadmill. I start to run, but it doesn't make any difference. The guy walks into a warehouse with her, and I can finally move, so I follow him. There's a dozen bodies hanging from the rafters inside. They're all the same little girl. No blood, no marks. It's like they're sleeping. I hear a noise and I turn around, and I'm out in a field. The girls are hanging from the sky now, but they're all awake. They start to scream and claw at the rope, but I can't hear anything. The sun is straight above our heads. Then a huge shadow comes down over the field, and the man with the wide-brimmed hat is looking down at me. I can't see his face. He grabs all the ropes out of the sky and walks away with them. I wake up right as the sun comes back.
Addendum 3208-2 Discovery Dreamlog 3208-2. This record is from D9931 from Site-81. Procedural review as to how he became infected during what was supposed to be a routine sample collection is still ongoing.
I'm sure I was awake for this, but I couldn't move, and there was someone in the room with me. I felt like there were heavy weights on my chest. The thing in the corner didn't even seem like it was paying attention to me. I tried to scream, but I couldn't. It was just staring out the window. I looked over and I wasn't on the 5th floor anymore. There was this dusty field that just stretched off into the horizon. I looked back over and the thing was gone. Then I looked back out the window and it was out there in the distance, and way bigger than before. It felt like I was laying there for months. Pitch black arms were growing out of the ground like plants the whole time. They tried to claw at the thing, but it just stood there staring at me. I finally blinked, and the field was gone, and I could move again. That's when I picked up the phone to call for the nurse.
Addendum 3208-3. Discovery. Dreamlog 3208-3. Note: the following is a standard dream log filed by Dr. Isaiah Hostetler in 1993 after his initial infection.
I'm standing in the parlor of my parents' old home in Maine. They have some guests over, but I don't recognize many of the faces. I smile and greet people and serve drinks, and I worry about whether the food will be ready or not when a phone rings. I pick it up, and a voice on the other end says, "Come upstairs." I leave this parlor and move towards the staircase. I remember it was this huge, sweeping thing that some Italian carpenter had built for my great-grandfather 100 years ago. But now it ascends into the ceiling, with no arm rail, and I can't see how high it goes. I hear the phone ring in the other room, and I am suddenly aware that there aren't many more people around. I look out a window and see fields, which I don't realize is out of the ordinary, but that house overlooked the bay. I begin to walk up the staircase, but I can't find my footing. I take several steps, then several more back down. I begin to feel very afraid. The phone is still ringing, louder. And now I'm standing in the house after it burned down. The staircase in front of me is unchanged, but now it just keeps rising up into the sky. The ruins are surrounded by fields that stretch out for an eternity. I start to climb again, and as I rise up the steps, I can see a figure in the distance. I can't quite make it out, but it's moving towards the house. I don't know how long I climb. Eventually I see him. A man in a hat, standing next to a telephone. The same phone I answered earlier in the parlor. I'm back in the parlor. He comes up to me and I can see him, plain as day. He looks afraid. He says, "Did you see it?" When I tell him I don't know what he's talking about, he recoils. "Blighted seed breeds blighted crop," he says, and his eyes grow wide. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I have a glass of water? My head is killing me. Thank you. The man leans in very close, staring at my eyes. "Listen to me," he says. "A nightmare festers in the field. Their all-seeing eye passed over the empty cell. Even the Reaper fears what is being sown." He produces a scalpel. "The dream walkers are fleeing. They would be like smoke before a cyclone. Take this." He hands me the knife. "You cannot stop its advance. If it sees you, cut out your eyes. The road through the field will be lined with corpses, but it may give you enough time to escape, by foot or by blade." The room around us is suddenly collapsing. The house is on fire. In the distance, I see a figure swaying in the field. "The blighted seed breed blighted crop," he says. "It is too late for you. Use the blade. Give others time. He's coming. He is coming." I ask him who, but he's gone. His hat is burning on a coat rack near the door. I hear a long, low sound coming from the field. I turn to look, and I wake up.
15 hours after recording Dreamlog 32083, Dr. Hostetler was found unresponsive in his room in the Site 81 medical wing along with a scalpel and the following note: "I think I understand now. I'm sorry." Dr. Hostetler was experiencing full-body paralysis at the time he was found, despite being in the earliest stages of infection. Several hesitation wounds were present on his arms and neck, though none were deep enough to cause serious injury. Dr. Hostetler remains unresponsive in the Site 81 Medical Center. Addendum 3208, 4. Discovery. Dreamlog 3208, 4. Note: the following is the transcript of audio recordings gathered from Dr. Harold Lang subsequent to his own infection 15 years after the previous log.
After I started complaining about the headache, Dr. Tarnett asked me to come in and get some scans done. They kept saying they weren't sure if it had manifested yet or not, but after last night, there's no questioning it. I know what I saw. I open my eyes, and the first thing I see is dust. It fills the air, chokes it, makes it thick. High above me, I can just barely make out a light. Maybe a sun that barely illuminates the world around me. There's a road beneath my feet, and I follow it. As my eyes adjust to the dust and the wind that's whipping up behind me, I get some sense of where I'm at. A single long road that stretches between two flat expanses of dirt, as far as I can see in any direction. I think in the distance I see mountains, but through the haze it's nearly impossible to tell. After a while I see something laying in the road. Its features are half-defined, like something out of a storybook that you dreamed about and then forgot. It's dead. There are others like it strewn across the road now. I get the impression that they used to be colorful, but they're covered in dirt and dust, and in the dark their colors have faded. Their lights have all gone out. I keep walking, and after a while the road ends. The dirt has covered the road completely, and now it's dust forever. This is when I start to see things laying on the ground. A hat, a ringing cell phone, a diamond ring, some baseball cards, and a pair of pants. I follow this trail of discarded things until I reach a field, one that stretches out before me in a long, unending line. There are crops there, tall stalks of dry things that rustle when the wind blows. There are more things on the ground now, and somewhere in front of me I start to sense a presence that makes my hair stand on end. It's far away. I walk through the fields for what feels like years. The trail becomes thicker and I start to see other things. At first I thought they were strips of rawhide, like you see sold at feed stores or cowboy shops. When I pick one up, I see the faintest coloration of a tattoo etched into it. Dark stretches of blackened blood accompany each one, where the piece sloughed off before coming to rest. I start to see hair, fingernails, teeth. The haze grows thicker now, and I lose my sense of direction. I'm wandering through the rows of dead stalks, barely breathing, and all around me I start to hear this sound. It's quiet at first, but every step I take brings me closer to the source, like I've been drawn into it. It's low and inconsistent, and it rises and falls as I push forward. I hear voices now. Individual sounds make up the din. I take another step, and the stalks around me disappear. I'm in a clearing, looking out towards another expanse of dirt. In the far distance, I see a city made of light and color floating in the air. There are shapes dancing around it, things with wings and things made out of fire and lightning, below its green grass and beyond its blue sky. Against the gray and brown of the fields and the dirt, it is a beauty that I can't even describe. A city of dream light and wonder. Jerusalem, set on a high hill. Then I see it, swaying in the wind. It's long and lean, with sackcloth around its body and a wide straw hat on its head. I can't make out its features. In one hand is clutched a thick knot of rope, thrown over its shoulder. As my eyes follow the rope, I see hundreds or thousands of people, bundled together like hay, moaning and screaming. Some of them I can see clearly, men and women and children in their street clothes, their eyes wild in fear. The others, I can see the dark strips that catch against the rocks and just slide off, like rawhide. I hear my name, and I look up. There's a figure there, one scorched black and rotten, reaching a hand towards me. Its fingers ground into nothing, but I see it clearly. Its mouth is open, and it's full of dirt and dust. It chokes out my name, again and again. I can't see its eyes, but it's staring at me. I can feel it. Then it's gone, mixed in with the rest of them as they're dragged across the dirt. I hear my name one more time, and then the sound, it just becomes another sound among thousands. I watch for a while longer. They get further away and the sound grows dim, and then the dust kicks up and the scene disappears. I stumble through the choked air again for a time, trying to find any respite from the horrid wind. I fall, barely able to catch myself. The dirt gets thicker in the air around me and I start suffocating under it. The ground is shifting and twisting beneath me, and I sink into it. I want to pull myself up, but my body refuses. The dust is too much. It obscures my sight and fills my lungs. It fills my veins. I see a pair of glasses sticking up out of the dirt. The glass is broken and the frames are bent, but I recognize them instantly. They're Hostetler's. And then I wake up.
This concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-2309. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. In order to prevent unauthorized access, the area surrounding SCP-2309 has been enclosed by a chain-link fence and given the public designation of a proving ground used by the Georgian Land Forces. A team of observers is to be stationed at SCP-2309 at all times to regularly report on the structural condition of SCP-2309. Any breach in SCP-2309 is to be reported immediately and considered a potential SK-class dominant shift scenario. Upon receiving such a report, Foundation military assets stationed in the Middle East are to be activated and deployed according to Contingency Plan 2309 to assess the situation and, if applicable, engage any hostile forces that appear. Description: SCP-2309 is an approximately 20 meters tall and 5 meters thick wall constructed from blocks of iron covered in a thin layer of brass standing between the walls of Pass in region Georgia. Although SCP-2309 is not susceptible to damage by conventional means, SCP-2309 continuously deteriorates through an anomalous process in which pieces of metal disappear from the north-facing side of SCP-2309, leaving a variety of patterns generally similar to claw marks in appearance. This process of deterioration, which occurs between sunrise and sunset, will continue until the thickness of the wall is reduced to as little as 5 centimeters in some sections. Between each period of deterioration, SCP-2309 will regenerate the lost material at a rate of approximately 0.5 millimeters per second, such that all of the lost material will have been regenerated before the next period of deterioration. Foundation historians believe that SCP-2309 was constructed during the 6th century BCE under the sponsorship of Cyrus the Great, founder of the Achaemenid Empire. The historical existence of SCP-2309 has been attested by various written sources dating from as early as the 1st century CE. Publicly accessible versions of these sources have been modified accordingly to obscure the existence and location of SCP-2309. Of particular interest among these sources is the following first-hand account of SCP-2309, given by Salam at-Turjumani, an official serving in the court of Caliph al-Wathiq of the Abbasid dynasty during the early 9th century CE. This is a report on the Iron Wall by Salam at-Turjumani, Department of Antiquities, 1908-9958.
After the Caliph reported a dream in which he saw the Iron Wall of Dul-Qarnayn being breached by the Ya'juj and the Ma'juj, he dispatched me to investigate this matter. Heading northwards to the Caucasus, I arrived in Tbilisi after 6 months of travel. There I made inquiries concerning the state of the Iron Wall, and found an old Magian, who told me that he had seen the Iron Wall and that it still stood. I then offered him 20 dinars to lead me to the Iron Wall, and without comment he led me further northward, to a pass between the mountains of and there I beheld the Iron Wall, and to the relief of both the Caliph and myself, I found that the Iron Wall still stood, and that Dulkanin's construction equipment remained intact, scattered about the site. What I found strange, however, was that I could see the scratches made by the Yajuj and the Majuj on the iron wall, but I could not see Yajuj and Majuj themselves. When I expressed my confusion to the Magian, he told me that the people of the Yajuj and Majuj lie hidden beyond the iron wall. He then placed his hand on my shoulder, at which point I saw the horde of Yajuj and Majuj streaming towards us as they tore at the iron wall. They were as gruesome as I had imagined, for their nakedness was not even hidden by skin, and their hands ended not in nails, but vicious rending claws. Behind the horde of Yajuj and Majuj, I saw only devastation. Every tree and plant had been uprooted, and the only beasts that survived their onslaught were flies, maggots, and roaches. Examining the disposition of the forces of the Yajuj and Majuj more closely, I saw two masked men, cloaked in red robes like those of Roman bishops presiding over the horde from atop flesh-crafted towers. Before them stood a massive, four-legged beast that was larger than 5 elephants and had only a bony plate for a face. Raising their staves towards the air, they guided the beast as a performer might guide a puppet. Responding to their every gesture, the beast began to charge toward the iron wall, trampling underfoot the Yajuj and the Majuj that strayed into its path, before its head slammed into the iron wall, which emerged largely unscathed. I questioned the Magian as to why the Yajuj and Majuj continued this futile effort to penetrate the iron wall, when they could have undermined it or built a scaffold. He replied that where the Yajuj and Majuj stood, the ground was harder than Damascus steel, and the ceiling of heaven was exactly at the height of the iron wall, so that even the most insignificant insect could not fly over it. I told the Magian that I had seen enough, and he removed his hand from my shoulder. As Yajuj and Majuj disappeared from my sight, he told me that the Caliph and the rulers of every civilized land must heed the threat of Yajuj and Majuj. Sometimes I question whether my vision was a sign from Allah or a Magian trick, but I am inclined to believe that I was not deceived. For Allah is knowing and seeing, and I saw only what had already been revealed.
Foundation archaeologists began evacuations of the area surrounding SCP-2309 in 1992. Among the articles of interest discovered were as follows: a cache of approximately 1,000 Lydian coins, a large number of iron and bronze fragments from Achaemenid weapons and armor, a collection of gears and other machine parts, probably used in the construction of SCP-2309. Many are stamped with the seals of the Mechanite temple cults of the Ionian city-states. A mass grave containing skeletons with humanoid body structures largely similar to those of baseline Homo sapiens sapiens, deviating from the baseline in that their skulls largely consist of a vertically aligned pair of sharp jaws and that their fingers end with bony claws. These specimens have been noted to resemble captured instances of SK Bio Type B. And finally, a large clay cylinder containing the following record, written in Old Persian, of the construction of SCP-2309 and the circumstances in which it took place. This is Iron Wall Cylinder by unknown author. Department of Antiquities, 1994, 2387.
All civilized men praise Cyrus, beloved of Ahura Mazda, King of Kings, King of Persia, Babylon, Sumer, Akkad, and Lydia. His army, which counts in its ranks as many men as there are drops of water in the Tigris and the Euphrates, marched into the Caucasus to confront the invaders who have sailed out from Adatum, led by Karaski Yagaha and Karaski Magaha, David generals of the Angra Mainyu. They have caused great mischief in our lands. At first, Cyrus's army drove them back to the pass, but the onslaught was endless, such that even the companions could not hold them back. In his divinely granted wisdom, Cyrus resolved to build a barrier to hold back the Devas and their accursed armies. Gathering the wisest men from all corners of his empire, Cyrus journeyed to Ionia, where he enlisted the Mechanite builder priests. As Cyrus's armies held the line, the Mechanites erected a great wall from blocks of iron and poured over it a layer of consecrated brass, so that Koski Yagaha and Koski Magaha and their armies will be sealed away from mankind in the realm of Druj until the end of time.
Because of the eschatological significance assigned to SCP-2309 and the existence of written and archaeological evidence suggesting that SCP-2309 was constructed as a barrier against Sarkic armies, it is believed that the breach of SCP-2309, if and when it should take place, may constitute an SK-class dominance shift scenario. Historical and esoteric research regarding the nature of the threat posed by SCP-2309 and possible improvements to its containment is ongoing. This concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you're all dismissed. Goodbye. I would like to give a special thank you to Alatreon, Zargaron, Professor Puffer, Ritalius, Your Local Fishman, Derivative, Gabriel Hawkins, Nate the Clown, Lost Boy, Octo Potato Football Match, HMS Lily, The Almighty Fish, Sio Deo Demnatus, The Morrigan, Karim El Ashmoui, James Saba, and NJ Vojak. If you would like a special thank you at the end of each of my videos, and some other cool stuff as well, visit patreon.com/The Volgan. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-4552. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-4552 is to be surrounded by a chain-link fence 2 meters high and watched by at least 2 armed guards at all times. Test subjects assigned to SCP-4552 have authorization for access, but must notify the site director before accessing SCP-4552 and must record all activity related to it. Civilians visiting the area are permitted to take pictures of the site, but trespassing of the chain-link fence is strictly prohibited. No imagery of the Foundation is to be kept on site, as the public may take note of the Foundation's existence. All personnel assigned to SCP-4552 must be wearing an official Irish Army uniform as opposed to the standard security officer uniform. Description: SCP-4552 is the remains of a sandstone castle located around 12 kilometers west of Dingle, County Kerry, Ireland. This site is officially recognized as Minard Castle by the Republic of Ireland. The ruins consist of a rectangular tower house constructed from roughly dressed sandstone blocks secured by a strong adhesive. All 4 corners of the castle's base were blown off during a siege led by Oliver Cromwell, former Lord Protector of the British Commonwealth. All occupants of the castle were either killed or forced to retreat, leaving the site in a state of disrepair. The lives of those that inhabited the castle remain mostly undiscovered to the Foundation and local historical societies, other than 4 diary entries, SCP-4552-1 through SCP-4552-04, written by a domestic servant who had previously helped maintain the premises. See Addendum 4552-1. Any personnel who enters the tower house of SCP-4552 will begin to hallucinate a dense fog, cutting them off from the outside world. The voice of a deceased loved one will then call out to them, often attempting to apologize or comfort the subject. If the subject hasn't lost an acquaintance in the course of their lifetime, no hallucination will occur. A vision of the loved one will approach the subject, often placing a hand on their shoulder or embracing them. The individual can interact with and speak to the vision for approximately 1 minute, after which the vision and fog will fade. Before the hallucination ends, it has always delivered the following verse.
Allies have come and gone. Some leave with or without choice. Others remain in the world behind me. We are the same. Too mournful of the past. Too terrified of the future. Welcome to my sandstone hell.
Note: these hallucinations will not activate if 2 or more personnel enter SCP-4552 at a time. Additionally, those who do not enter the tower house are unable to see or hear the hallucinations, but can still hear the subject within SCP-4552. Addendum 4552-01. The following diary entries were recovered from within SCP-4552, found in a partially rotted chest within the castle's cellar. They have been translated from a form of Munster Irish to English. SCP-4552-01.
Today was exhausting. Something appeared to be on Master's mind. He seemed distressed, jumpy. The mistress was summoned by her parents recently, but she'll be back by tomorrow evening, right? Apparently, Master had requested the number of guards to be doubled, or at least that's what Leonard told me. I'll be damned if anyone here besides Master knew why. Golly, so much seemed off today. I hardly know what to write about. I've also been wanting to get back into poetry for quite some time now. I was planning on writing some this evening, but supper had taken quite a bit more time than I was expecting. A shame. I've had puffins on my mind all day. So carefree, so happy, so filled with life and joy for their brothers and sisters. Quite a good subject for a poem, if you ask me. I envy puffins. Ornia.
SCP-4552-02.
Tomorrow's the day. I've been meaning to tell Leonard how I felt about him for a while now. He's got to say yes, right? Who else could he possibly be interested in? Oh, how I wish we could run away from this cold prison. Imagine our kids. Imagine our cute little garden growing the finest herbs in all of Munster. What a happy day that will be. 2 puffins raising their happy little chicks. The mistress returned home today, but Master still seemed so on edge. I don't have time to worry about them. I'm much too happy to bury myself in his attitude. From the burrow you rise, dressed in the black of desire, dressed in the white of innocence. Your beak is your mighty sword that will free us both from this sandstone hell. Ornia.
SCP-4552-03.
Hannah? Hannah of all people. I didn't find her much too interesting when I started my life here, but really? Funny, I suppose. Hannah was supposed to be our kid's name. Why must you take everything from me? Ornia.
SCP-4552-04.
We have been told that Lord Cromwell's army is on their way, and that everyone on the estate must hold their ground. Hannah is gone. I don't care anymore. Death comes too soon, or maybe to some not soon enough. Let us leave this world behind. Come along, Leonard. I've had enough of our sandstone hell. Ornia.
Addendum 4552-2. The following test logs involving SCP-4552 were documented on 04/29/2018. In each test, a D-Class personnel who had lost at least one acquaintance during their lifetime was told to enter SCP-4552 and report any encounters with hallucinations. After the tests, all 6 subjects were offered Class A traumatic amnestic therapy, and all subjects declined. SCP-4552, Tests 1-6. Test 1. Subject, D20457. Relation, wife. Hallucination. Don't let me drag you down like this. It's all right. I understand. Just be happy for the both of us. Okay? Test 2. Subject, D0458. Relation, daughter. Hallucination. Why are you crying, Daddy? Where's Mommy? I don't understand. Test 3. Subject, D20467. Relation, father. Hallucination. How's Cassie? Don't tell me she choked on a goldfish again. Good to see you, champ. Come, I believe we have some time together now. Test 4. Subject 20558. Relation, sister. Hallucination. Long time no see. Don't worry. You'll be with me and Mom soon enough. That wasn't meant to be a threat or anything. Test 5. Subject 20502. Relation, father. Hallucination. It's been a while, hasn't it? Move along now. The living aren't done with you yet. Note, the verse repeated at the end of the hallucination was spoken in Mandarin as opposed to English. Mandarin is the subject's first language. Test 6. Subject. Relation. Hallucination. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. Get away from me. I thought, seeing it was close to St. Patrick's Day, I would look at something to do with Ireland, thinking that it would be uplifting. I was clearly wrong. Okay, this concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Slán. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-738. Object Class, Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-738 is to be kept in 3 linked sealed chambers with armed guards and a remote detonation system at all times, as well as constant full audio-visual surveillance. Due to the variety and strength of observed interactions with SCP-738 and the unknown limits of SCP-738, the following procedures are to be strictly followed. When SCP-738 is not in use, its components must be kept one to each chamber. Mechanical means built into the containment area are to be used to assemble and disassemble SCP-738. Should mechanical assembly means fail, then testing is to be cancelled until an engineer fitted with an explosive collar can be sent in to repair the systems. Said engineer is to be detonated upon any attempt to interact with any component of SCP-738. Should medical disassembly fail, preset shaped charges shall be used to disassemble SCP-738. The system should then be repaired and reset by a single engineer fitted with an explosive collar. All D-Class personnel used to test the device must be mildly intellectually disabled or of comparably impaired cognitive function, and then must be fitted with an explosive collar. This is in order to prevent them from learning too much about SCP-738 and possibly using SCP-738 in a way that is detrimental to the Foundation. Class D personnel with IQs over 60 and all other personnel are not allowed into the room containing SCP-738. Class D personnel are allowed into the room containing SCP-738 for experimentation only and are to be provided with continual instruction by research personnel. Description: SCP-738 consists of 3 components: a matched set of mahogany furniture including 1 desk, currently labeled SCP-738-1, 1 strike-back chair currently labeled SCP-738-2, and 1 ornate throne-style office chair labeled SCP-738-3, all with brass embellishments and royal purple velvet padding. The effect begins when a sentient entity sits in SCP-738-2 in front of SCP-738-1, with SCP-738-3 resting behind SCP-738-2. The cameras show SCP-738-3 moving during the effect, frequently leaning back into a relaxed state, as well as moving closer to or further away from SCP-738-2. Occasionally, SCP-738-3 is moved in front of SCP-738-2. Furthermore, cameras show papers and folders containing papers leaving SCP-738-1's drawers. The papers are made of a parchment. A quill pen and a bottle of ink emerge from the long drawer. The pen will write on the parchment. Audio recorders record a distorted voice speaking. This voice will make offers and promises, attempting to tempt the occupant of SCP-738-2. Meaning has been extracted from the spoken voice. If in this time the entity sitting in SCP-738-2 makes a request, then the tempting and offers will cease. There will be a pause, and a price will be stated. This can be bargained with. However, the voice will insist on other prices of equal value. Occasionally, when a request is made, the voice will respond by telling the requester that they do not want the object enough, or that they are obviously requesting the object for someone else to get around paying full price, in which case the request is not fulfilled. This occurs most frequently for requests that can affect other people or can transfer possession. Accepting the deal causes the agreed upon wish or command to be fulfilled to the letter, but not past the letter. Furthermore, it will cause the occurrences stated in the price to be paid. The entity has actively stated that occurrences in the price are intended to cause an amount of emotional and/or physical pain to the amount that the requester desires what they request. How parity is calculated is at present unknown. The price has also been stated to be independent of any pain caused by fulfilling the request. See the test log for examples of prices paid and requests made. As a final note, personnel in the chair have reported seeing an entity sitting in SCP-738-3. However, all attempts to observe this entity when not seated in SCP-738-2 have failed, and further descriptions of the entity are inconsistent between sessions, even with multiple sessions with the same person. When asked about this, the entity claims to be the same entity each time. Some frequent descriptions of the entity include seductive and charming. Sessions with the same person that are close in time report similar or identical entity appearances. Sessions with different people that are close in time report different entities' appearances. Descriptions of the voice do not match the voice recorded on the equipment. Addendum 738-1. History. SCP-738 was recovered from the office of a Catholic cardinal after his death. He had received it as a gift from the Pope for extraordinary services from the Vatican archives. The Foundation became aware of SCP-738 after, with dead, and his will contested in the aftermath of the event. Foundation personnel acquired the desk. Foundation agents in the Vatican reported recovering some of the documents surrounding SCP-738. Addendum 738-2. Test results. Test 1. Researcher sits in SCP-738-2 and waits. Results. Researcher reports several attempts made to coerce him into a deal, with deals including love of the woman he wants, an object that would make him a well-respected researcher, and the granting of O5 status. Startled researcher leaves SCP-738-2, leaves room. Recordings follow statements provided. Researcher reports disappearance of the entity, followed by return of pen, paper, and folders to drawers. Using cameras, speed of object return clocked at over 120 meters per second. Researcher reports seeing a man in a red and gold business suit. Test 2. Personnel D-26 sat on SCP-738-2. Analysis performed upon papers and documents. Results. Spectral analysis has confirmed that the parchment is human skin. The feather in the quill pen comes from an unidentified bird. Subject offered freedom, is told that the price is death of his best friend. D-26 laughed and agreed, then vanished. D-26 was recaptured 5 hours later. Documents written in English. D-26 involved in test reported seeing a beautiful and seductive woman. Test 3. Personnel 6597, a non-native English speaker, sits in SCP-738-2. Results. Papers written in D-6597's native language, as is spoken communication. D-6597 offered the power to never be held in a cell again. Price is stated to be memories of D-6597's mother. D-6597 accepts offer. After acceptance, resulting in the deaths of 12 guards and D-6597. Test 4. Personnel 8846, dyslexic and seriously intellectually disabled, sits in SCP-738-2. Results. The language on the parchment appeared to be crude pictograms representing the deal, though some words in English were represented in the parchment. In general, the English was unrelated to the pictures they were under, and frequently insult D-8846's intelligence, and state that the entity is uncertain of how much of this D-8846 understands. D-8846 was offered a sloppy Joe. Price was stated to be Mopsy. a toy that D-8846 had been allowed to smuggle into the Foundation. D-8846 accepted and food was materialized upon the desk, along with antique silverware, fine china plate, and crystal glass sippy cup with wine-colored grape juice. D-8846 shows great distress upon discovering that Mopsy was missing after finishing meal. D-8846 reports seeing a large pink rabbit. After deal was complete and D-8846 left the chair, recorders picked up a sigh. Voice print of sigh does not match D-8846's voice. Test 4 follow-up. D-8846 issued toy exactly identical to Mopsy. Result: as soon as D-8846 named the toy Mopsy, it vanished. D-8846 showed great emotional distress. Test 5. Destruction testing. Result: explosive, fire, gunshot, mechanical wood chipper fail. Direct attack upon desk with axe leaves a single gash with depth of 3 mm and results in, as well as death of attacking personnel. Gash remains in desk. Video logs show gash healing at a rate of 1 micrometer per day. Test 6. Researcher sits in SCP-738-2, asks, "What are you?" Result: entity, taking the appearance of a large snake, states, "I'm sorry, it's against policy to divulge personal details, but may I interest you in..." Researcher stood from the chair, shaking and ending the session. Researcher was then placed in Mental Institution 5, awaiting review due to information revealed by offer. Test 7. Sheldon Katz, Esquire, Senior Counsel with the Foundation's Legal Department. Result: at commencement of test, Mr. Katz presented the entity with a notarized, apostilled affidavit stating that he was participating in the test on his own behalf and not as an agent for the Foundation. Approximately 41 hours after the commencement of the test, Mr. Katz lapsed into unconsciousness due to exhaustion. Mr. Katz described the appearance of the entity as identical to his first-year contracts professor from law school, but he declined to describe the nature of the offer that had been made. He reported that just prior to his blacking out, he had been in the midst of negotiating a precise technical definition of the word "shall." Katz stated that the current working draft of the agreement that he and the entity had been drafting was at least 900 pages long at that moment, exclusive of exhibits and schedules, and that he regretted not keeping a copy for his form file. A red leather envelope smelling of sulfur was found on Mr. Katz's person, which contained a handwritten note reading, "Please come back any time. I hadn't had so much fun in years. Mr. Katz has requested reassignment." Remaining tests require level 4 clearance or higher to view until declassification is complete. Addendum 738-3. Notes: in recent testing, offers have been made directly to the researchers who were telling the subject what to do. Recommend cessation of all testing. 052. So I know you're all thinking it, but I'm just gonna say it. Yes, of course the lawyer was the only person who got along with this entity. Of course. Anyway, this concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-1370. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1370 is locked in a fireproof glass display case stored in Gallery 27. If the case becomes damaged by external circumstance, any container with the dimensions of at least 1.25 by 0.75 by 0.50 meters will suffice as a replacement until a new display case is available. The Ethics Committee recommends that any long-term storage case contain enough space for SCP-1370 to move freely. Level 2 personnel and higher may remove SCP-1370 from its case at their discretion, but will face disciplinary action for failing to secure it properly afterward. Description: SCP-1370 is a self-aware artificial being constructed from various electrical devices and tools. It stands approximately 1 meter in height and is capable of moving its articulated joints despite any lack of power source or motors. SCP-1370 communicates in a monotone voice via a speaker mounted in its chest. Its head is a voltmeter soldered upside down to a neck joint, giving the appearance of a friendly smile, but containing no active sensory devices. However, SCP-1370 will react to visual and audible stimuli, and its ability to do so is hampered when the head is covered or otherwise restrained. Its design appears to give more importance to aesthetic concern rather than function, as evidenced by poor center of gravity that hampers its ability to balance and walk. It is therefore believed that SCP-1370 was created as an art object and later imbued with anomalous properties rather than designed with those in mind. It can currently speak fluent American English, French, and Latin, and is capable of learning new languages. Other facets of its intellectual capacity have not been clearly outlined, as SCP-1370 is invariably hostile in all interactions with any being or object it interprets to be sapient. This includes, but is not limited to, animals, Foundation personnel, civilians, audio-visual equipment, and security cameras. If SCP-1370 encounters an object it believes to be sapient, it will attempt to engage the object in combat, while introducing itself with a variety of elaborate titles which appear to be selected at random. Examples include Doombot 2000, Robo-Lord the Destructor, Prime Minister Sinister, and Darth Claw Killflex. SCP-1370 will often include variations to these titles based on responses it receives from personnel. Foundation staff have successfully introduced Patheticon, the Garglemost, and Pesterbot to its lexicon. Addendum. Many tests on SCP-1370's combat prowess have been run, each confirming that SCP-1370 lacks the physical aptitude to cause damage to any living being. Test 1370-8239 exposed SCP-1370 to a common houseplant with a speaker hidden in the plant's pot. After SCP-1370 was provoked verbally, it attempted to fold and twist the leaves of the plant within its grasp, before incapacitating itself. The log of this event follows.
Researchers L. Allens and T. Bossum carry SCP-1370's case into the testing chamber. The case is set down 1 meter from a potted philodendron fitted with a small speaker.
Release me, insects. I am Doom Master 1370, Master of all Doom. I shall be the herald of your destruction.
Researchers leave the testing chamber and the case is opened remotely. Although no security risk is determined, the test requires SCP-1370 to focus on the plant rather than the nearby personnel. Observations are made via an opaque glass window to prevent SCP-1370 from attacking its own reflection.
At last I am unleashed upon this earth, so deserving of destruction. All shall be rent within my pincers. All shall be trampled beneath my feet. I am Shivatron, despoiler of mirth.
Hello, can you hear me?
Who dares? All souls shall burn. You will feel the sharp sting of my wrath. Identify yourself so that I may sing damnation upon you as you die.
I'm a split-leaf philodendron, a semi-woody shrub with large glossy leaves. These leaves could grow up to 3 feet long.
Your mockery spells your doom. I have arrived. You will be crushed betwixt my digits.
SCP-1370 falls over and is unable to right itself. After approximately 6 minutes, it knocks the pot over, which rolls into a position that pins SCP-1370's body to the floor of the chamber. Researchers enter to return SCP-1370 to its case.
Okay, well, there you have it. The legendary Pesterbot, everyone. I thought I'd give a little bit of a break from the very serious and real anomalies we've been covering recently, and Pesterbot seemed like a good change of pace. Anyway, this concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye.
Alright, that's gonna be it for right now.